Escambia County Redevelopment Agency regular meeting, October 5th, 2023, 9 a.m. Please turn your cell phone to vibrate silence or the off setting. Board of County Commissioners allows any person to speak regarding the item on the agenda. The speaker is limited to 2 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chairman. Was there proof of publication?
Yes, this meeting has been properly published through Escambia Sunrise on September 28th, 2023.
Thank you, Chairman. Are there any speakers for public forum?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you. We'll move to technical and public service consent agenda.
Recommendation concerning Community Redevelopment Agency meeting minutes, September 7, 2023.
Chair entertain a motion.
So moved.
And we'll vote by hand. I pass the 4 in favor with Commissioner Bender off the dais. Budget and Finance consent agenda.
We have 3 for your approval, A and B. First one is recommendation concerning residential rehab grant program funding and lien agreements. Second one is recommendation concerning the cancellation of residential rehab grant program liens. Third is recommendation concerning residential roof program funding and lien agreement.
Chair entertain a motion for the Budget and Finance consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Please vote. 4 in favor, Commissioner Bender off. Go ahead.
For discussion, we have recommendation for the reinstatement of the commercial improvement grant. We're made several changes to the grant. First one is providing a 50% matching reimbursement up to $25,000 from the original $10,000. Lien will go from 12 months to 36 months, and during this course of this, there will be creation of at least one job during the tenure of this grant. We're looking for the board's recommendation approval to move forward with the grant.
So how many jobs?
At least one, if not more, but at least one during the tenure of the grant.
Okay. It's a little low for me. Any discussion?
Yeah, I was going to move it, sir, if you didn't have anything else.
No, that's fine.
Move to approve.
Please vote. 5 in favor, thanks.
Thank you.
That passes. Anything else?
That'll be it.
Great. We stand adjourned. Thank you. Hopefully, we'll get all of our questions answered this morning to my colleagues, so we'll be able to move hastily tonight. Board of County Commissioners regular meeting. Before we start, Director Marino has an announcement as it relates to his personnel and his team. Director Marino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I'd like to introduce 2 new staff members this morning. Ms. Casey will come up front and Mr. Russell will come up front. I'll introduce Ms. Casey Lagarde, coming on staff as our Strategic Information Director. She is no stranger to county government or to city government. She's been with us before. She is back. She's going to be telling all our good stories, and we're happy to have her on board. She comes with a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience, and I'm excited to have her and announce her as a staff member. Casey, would you like to say any words?
Sure. Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. It's great to be back. I'm familiar with most of you, I think, and I've had an opportunity to meet with some of you since getting started about a week ago. I won't keep you guys too long, but I'm just excited to be back, and I just want to thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Thanks, Casey. Welcome back home.
Thanks.
Go get some of your other friends that left and went to the city. Tell them to come back.
I'm really excited to announce this next gentleman, Mr. Russell Clark. He is your new Chief Information Officer. He comes to us from Rutgers University. He also has a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience. He's also been at Princeton. He's been at some other large organizations in between, but this is going to be good for us. He's going to lead our IT department with confidence, and he's going to set the pace down there. I'm excited to announce him, Mr. Russell Clark.
Clark.
Good morning, commissioners and everyone, directors, everyone else. I'm honored and I'm humbled to be here. As Wes said, I come from higher education and financial and banking. I've garnered a great deal of experience over the years, and I'm excited to bring here to Escambia County, working with all the directors and all of the many esteemed people that I've met. It's just an exciting time for me. It's a challenge and a change, but we're going to transform the IT team to really transform what you do and meet your strategic objectives. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome.
Sure.
If I ever bring my phone down, don't touch it. I mean, no, that wasn't a joke. I mean, that was for real.
You're always good, Lemon. You're always good.
Yeah, well,
So, Commissioners, I have the directors here this morning. We've been at this a little over 2 years. We've been team building for 2 years. I want to say these last two positions, this rounds out my team. This is my team. I'm proud of them. They're the best of the best, and there's nobody I'd like to be in the trenches with no more than this group right here. So, to all my directors, I appreciate you. Thank you for what you do every day, and thank you for all your support. Thank y'all. Now y'all can go sit where you want to.
and Wes, as you take your seat, I often brag on Wes Marino because he, to me, is the model of someone who works hard, beat the odds, stayed the task, and Wes, you are a role model for our young people to say you don't have to have PhDs and master's degrees. All you got to do is just work hard, and good things happen to those who work hard. So Wes, we appreciate your leadership. With that, Commissioner McGosh will be bringing the invocation tonight. Thank you. Our pledge. Who would like to do the pledge? Okay, Bender. Thank you. Are there any items to be added to the agenda?
No, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I've added a couple. I believe they're already logged, and I believe you already have the backup.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kohler? Commissioner Bender?
No, sir.
Thank you. Probably not. No. Wes, you have anything? No, sir. Thank you so much. Commissioner Form, Commissioner McGosh?
I'll save my comments for tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Save yours for tonight? All right, cool. We do want to thank all of our directors for being here, and Wes having them here at our meeting. And we know that not only do they have to do their jobs throughout the week, but they're here on Thursdays. And so one thing that I've tried as I hand the gavel off to Commissioner Berry is to value the time of our employees and not waste a lot of time in meetings when they can be doing the work of the people. And we're going to continue to try to do that. Today, presentation plaque, Commissioner Berry will be giving it to our good friend Wayne Brisky. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Adopt a proclamation, congratulations, Ms. Tricia Blandon on her selection as Employee of the Month. Who's presenting that? All right, thank you. Tim Tolbert will be doing that. Thank you. Adopt a proclamation proclaiming the week of October 1st through October 27th as National 4-H Week. Nick Simmons, Nick, thank you, Nick, will do that. Adopting proclamation proclaiming the week of October 15th through the 21st as Celebrate Babies Week. Yeah, I'm sure you do. I mean, I'm fun. So we appreciate you doing it. Adopt a proclamation congratulating the Friends of West Florida Public Library on their 50th anniversary and commend them for their achievements in our community. Todd Humble. We're doing that. Thank you, Todd. Adopt a proclamation honoring Lieutenant Colonel Tim McCreary for his service. Commissioner Kohler? Thank you, sir. We certainly appreciate it. Clerk and Comptroller report, we have anything? Oh, you just wait till tonight?
I can wait for tonight, one, because I don't have a voice, but I do want to let you know something. With the breach that happened with the courts, it has nothing to do with the Clerk and Comptroller's office. So any of the comptroller data, payroll, what have you, not compromised. Anything that we have on the attorney side, the court side, not compromised. Attorneys, anybody can still file, see the court record. We are standing up the courts. We have not missed a trial event, nor any injunctions or any type of hearing. So we'll continue to stand up the courts over the next 2 weeks.
Growth Management Report, Horace?
Good morning, Commissioners, Chairman, board members. For tonight, we do have several rezoning cases that's scheduled for public hearing tonight. Then we have the adoption of the official zoning maps. Then we have our consent agenda for October the 19th, as well as November the 2nd.
Any questions for Director Jones? Thank you, Horace. Appreciate it. County Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Car 1, item 1 is a recommendation concerning amendments to Community Development Block Grant Public Services Agreements with the Council on Aging of West Florida, Inc., and with County Human Relations Commission. Item 2 is concerning Community Redevelopment Agency meeting minutes, September 7th, 2023. Item 3 is concerning acceptance of a conservation easement between EVI Perdido LLC, a limited liability company, and Escambia County.
Mr. Administrator, Chips, can you give me a brief rundown? I've seen several of these on the agenda tonight, just what's going on with this?
Thank you, Commissioner. What all of these are effectively people that have permitted construction on Perdido Key, and these are the required conservation easements that is as a result of their permitting. So
Okay.
these are the signs of development on the Key.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll pick up with item 7. It's a recommendation concerning the memorandum of agreement between Escambia County, Florida, and Okaloosa County, Florida. 8 is concerning the request for disposition of property for the Office of the State Attorney. 9 is concerning the conveyance of a utility easement to Florida Power and Light. 10 is concerning the United Way of Escambia County's Day of Caring, Friday, October 20th, 2023. 11 is concerning the 2020-24 Board of County Commissioners meeting schedule. 12 is concerning the approval and adoption of the 2024 holiday calendar for Escambia County, Florida. We'll move on to car 2.
Yeah, Wes, there's no question. One, I see Dave Peden and Rick Breyer, and if your item, the only item you had was 9, I think that you're good to not have to worry about coming back. I don't want to waste you guys' time, unless
I
someone
think
has a
they're here
question.
for the discussion item.
Oh, discussion item?
I think
Okay.
so.
All right, cool. Thanks, Wes.
We can take that now if you'd like.
We could, for their time. You want to take that? Let's take that for Rick and Dave.
Okay. All right. This is a discussion item considering funding for the Northwest Florida Defense Partners. This is a carryover from the budget hearing the other night.
Commissioner Berry, Commissioner Bender?
Yes, sir. I appreciate the tentative support of this board. I know the original request was for 125, but after discussing some with some staff over at the organization, we feel that we could reduce that request to 75,000.
All right. Any other discussion? All right.
Robert, have you talked to somebody from Santa Rosa County?
I'll reach out this week or today.
Okay.
Sorry, I meant to text them this morning, but it was my understanding they had it in there, but I have not been able to confirm.
Okay.
I know some of the people I've talked to over there, they realize what we're trying to do. It's a joint effort, and we're going up there and representing both counties, and the ones that I've talked to have been supportive. I just don't know if it's been done yet.
Okay, yeah, if, Mr. Chairman, I mean, to me, that's an important part of the discussion, so, maybe Commissioner Bender is able to kind of run that down a little bit during the day today, and we'll discuss it briefly tonight. I mean, a joint effort.
What was the commitment from Santa Rosa? I thought it was 50,000, correct?
Well, that's what's been said conversationally. I just haven't, as of relatively recently, it wasn't actually in their budget. So we want to make sure that, joint efforts imply joint participation. So, on some level, so.
Yep.
So, Robert, if you could confirm that, and we just hold this for tonight, and you do it. All right. Wes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Car 2, item number 1 is concerning amendment number 4 to the Community Development Block Grant Agreement with Legal Services in North Florida. 2 is concerning PD 21-22.007, Blue Arbor Temporary Employment Labor Services for the Summer Youth Employment Program. 3 is concerning the cancellation of residential rehab grant program liens. 4 is concerning residential rehab grant program funding and lien agreements. 5 is concerning residential roof program funding and lien agreements. 6 concerning contract renewal for special magistrates. 7 is concerning derelict vessel removal grant from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. 8 is concerning the issuance of purchase orders in excess of $50,000 for the Natural Resources Management Department.
Hold on, Wes. Commissioner Berry?
Yeah, thank you. So item 8 and item 35 are both larger. They're both larger items that have multiple vendors and everything. I need to abstain from one of the vendors on those. If the board doesn't object, then it kind of moves easier in the meeting if I just abstain from the whole item. If my vote is needed on the remaining part of the items, I'll be happy to vote on the rest of it, but.
I don't think it's needed, Commissioner.
If it's not, then I would just abstain from those two items.
Okay.
It's 8 and 35.
8 and 35. So we'll hold 8 and 35 for Commissioner Berry to abstain tonight.
All right.
Thank you. Wes?
Item 9 is concerning the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection Resilient Florida Program Grant Agreement in the amount of $272,930.24. 10 is concerning the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection Resilient Florida Program Grant Agreement, Amendment Number 1, in the amount of $2,700,000 for the Beach Haven Northeast Drainage and Sanitary Sewer Project. 11 is concerning the acceptance of a budget amendment to the fiscal year 22-2023 Visit Pensacola's Miscellaneous Appropriations Agreement. 12 is concerning the issuance of change order number 1 to SMG ASM in excess of $50,000. 13 is concerning the supplemental budget amendment number SBA 23091. 14 is concerning long-term disability through the Lincoln National Life Insurance Company. 15 is concerning United Badges Insurance Services LLC firefighter cancer
Hey,
policy.
Wes, wait, why was the change orders, why do we have such a large change order number 1 for 14 on the long-term disability?
For 14?
Yeah, for 14. The original amount was 51, but now we're told at 138. I'm just wondering, why do we have such a large change order?
Yeah, good morning, Commissioner. That is employee paid, 100%. So we just didn't account for all the employee deductions in the increased enrollment.
Oh, so that's
Yes, sir.
directly out of the employee's
Yes, sir.
pocket? We just didn't-
100%.
It's just cleaning up a budget item?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Wes?
Item 16 is concerning the issuance of a purchase order in excess of $50,000 through the Florida Transit Research Inspection Procurement Services. 17 is concerning soil transport from the Delano Street Area Drainage Improvements Project to the Perdido landfill. 18 is concerning the interlocal agreement between Escambia County, Florida and the Santa Rosa Island Authority relating to animal control officer services. 19 is concerning the renewal of the Municode agreement. 20 is concerning approval of state aid to libraries grant agreement. 21 is concerning the issuance of fiscal year 2023-2024 purchase orders in excess of $50,000 for the Library Services Department. 22 is concerning approval to enter into an agreement with Mr. John Radixia to provide caretaker services for Escambia County road operations. 23 is concerning the purchase of one 2023 Transit Connect van for the Community and Media Relations Department. 24 is concerning the purchase of two 2023 Ford F-150 regular cab 4x4 trucks for the Natural Resources Department. 25 is concerning the purchase of three 2023 Ford F-150 Super Cab 4x4 trucks for the Building Services Department.
Wes, just because I'm thinking about it, Claire, did you ever order the transportation for the community center? So it's ordered? It's on site? Okay, all right, thanks.
26 is concerning the acceptance of a drainage easement for the Renee Terrace Drainage Improvement Project. 27 is concerning the custodial services for various county facilities contract. 28 is concerning the acceptance of two temporary construction easements for the Wood Run Bridge Replacement Project. 29 is concerning the contract award, construction, engineering, and inspection services for the Casino Beach Fishing Pier. 30 is concerning the contract award for the Vista Park Reconstruction Phase 1 Federal Emergency Management Agency Project. 31 is concerning federally funded subaward and grant agreement number H0773, project number 4177-18, modification number 2 to the Florida Division of Emergency Management for the acquisition and construction of the Delano Herman Streets Drainage Improvements Project. 32 is concerning issuance of change order number 1 to DKE Marine Services, Inc. on contract PD 12-13.001 for bridges, docks, and boat ramps for the North Point Bridge repair. 33 is concerning issuance of change order number 3 to purchase order number 231582 to site and utility contract for the Mill Swamp House site repair and restoration project. 34 is concerning Longleaf Drive project. 35 is concerning the issuance of fiscal year 2023-2024 purchase orders in excess of $50,000 for the engineering department. 36 is concerning amending the Home American Rescue Plan allocation plan. 37 is concerning the ratification of the memorandum of understanding between the Escambia County Board of County Commissioners and the Local 1395 of the Amalgamated Transit Unit, AFL-CIO, certification number 1938. 38 is concerning a funding allocation for Gulf Coast Veterans Advocacy Council. 39 is
Hey,
concerning...
Wes,
Yes,
sorry.
sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Sorry.
Robert.
On 37, so that has been signed?
That has been signed, yes.
Was there a delay on that a little bit or something? or-
It's the one that was for, that covered the operational unit. There was
Right.
a bit of a delay. We made some phone calls and were able to push it along.
Well, this is just, that was just authorizing us to give them the 3% raise, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
And Rodriguez is here, Robert, and, you know, this is probably not the time. We're not gonna keep bus drivers if we continue with the low pay that we have. And whether it's obstructed by the union or not, I mean, when you have people driving a school bus that's making more money than somebody just driving public transportation, you're not gonna keep drivers. I mean, I've heard the complaints, but
Mr. Chairman, we have a wage opener coming in just a few weeks where we're going to address that.
good deal.
Rod already has a plan.
All right, thanks.
38 is concerning funding allocation for Gulf Coast Veterans Advocacy. 39 is concerning ratification of the memorandum of understanding between the Escambia County Board of County Commissioners and the Local 1395 of the Amalgamated Transit Union, certification number 1332. 40 is concerning a funding allocation for Nexstar WKRG Perdita Key Commercial. 41 is concerning a funding allocation for the 33rd WSRE PBS Wine and Food Classic. 42 is concerning a funding allocation for the American Legion Auxiliary Hannington Watts Unit 193. 43 is concerning a funding allocation for Reclaiming Our Youth Organization. 44 is concerning a funding allocation for Golden Elite Track and Field and the Demps Family Foundation. We've discussed CAR 3-1, and CAR 3-2 is concerning Escambia County's legislative priorities.
All right, Commissioner Kohler, I'll add $1,000 to your item on 38 if we could do that tonight. For the, I'll give you $1,000. Thanks, not a problem. I'm happy. If we could just add that, we can take it, and I'll give you $1,000. Commissioner Bagash?
Yeah, Wes, are we going to talk a little bit this morning about the legislative priorities? Because I think there's some transportation ones that we really need to get behind.
Please feel free.
Well, the Beulah interchange. we're
It's
supposed to be-
always at the top.
I mean, we were there, we had everything funded, and then it slipped, and the construction fell out of the 5-year work plan. And what's our plan in terms of I know we've brought on some new lobbyists, we have some folks in Tallahassee now in DC. What can we do to get that back on track? I mean, I understand the governor has a big push that he's trying to make at Pine Forest, and we need that as well. And he's, but I think Beulah's important, so I'd like to know your thoughts specifically on how we push that.
We've already had some discussions with our newest lobbyist on board. We have a meeting this afternoon to discuss again some priorities that we would like them to address and lobby on our behalf. And Beulah Interchange funding for the Beulah Interchange is absolutely one of those priorities.
And the other issue that I'd like to talk about on behalf of my constituents and I don't know what we can do from this board for it, but it affects all of our constituents, is this property insurance. Folks that have never had anything, no claims at all, are having their policies doubled or canceled. My own policy went up another $1,500 this year. I've had one claim in 20 years. It's just not sustainable. It's going to squeeze the middle class. What can we do from this board with our lobbyists to help in what they're doing in Tallahassee? A lot of people believe that at some point the state is going to have to subsidize this and find a way through. We just read in the paper today, Progressive is dumping all their property insurance. They make a fortune selling auto insurance here. That's like the dessert, right? But the broccoli is property insurance because sometimes you got to pay a lot of money, and so they're going to knock the broccoli off the plate and not sell homeowners insurance here, but they're going to make a fortune selling auto policies here. And I think we've got to be forceful. This affects each and every one of the constituents in each and every one of our districts, and I think we have to speak about it. And I'd like to know if the rest of my board members would support us talking about it.
All right, Commissioner Baird and Commissioner Bender. You want to-
Yeah,
Oh,
so
go
Jeff, on Beulah Road, I talk to FDOT about it all the time and keep it forward and talk about different funding sources. So, I know the last couple of years we've just supported the 5-year work plan. I think as a board, if we wanted to help acquire right-of-way for the project, that would help it along. But, when I talk to our District 3 folks at FDOT, they know how important it is to us. FDOT secretary. We saw him in Orlando, and I mentioned it again.
Thank you.
And so,
You've got different priorities.
yeah, and so, you know, of course, it's getting that funding. As for the other, I mean, of course, it's more of a legislative thing, and I think they know that that's coming. In terms of they need to do something with property insurance, I think that, if I remember correctly, that a couple weeks ago, the governor had said that they were working on bringing in some new markets to help offset that, and that, but yeah, it could be a year or two before we see that, and of course, that would be if we don't sustain heavy losses, but, you know, again, I think it's something we can talk to our state lobbyists for, and just say that we support any bills that would help aid with insurance.
Well, I'm certainly going to do that. I appreciate that.
But also, Wes, I think part of this is ahead of the legislative delegation meeting on October 26th, but if we need to, we could finalize something in our next meeting. So it doesn't have to be tonight.
Sure, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Robert, the delegation meeting is on the 26th?
Yes.
So I'm not going to be at that meeting, so would one of you be there? I mean, is there someone that wants to go with Wes?
I'm at MPOAC that day.
I'm happy to represent, Commissioner.
I'll go and sit, Wes, you can present, but I'm going to go either way, so.
Okay. All right, thanks. I'm sorry, Commissioner Berry, then Commissioner Kohler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I mean, the intent, Jeff, you mentioned the intent was to have the construction funds in the July 1 5-year work program. And, you know, apparently the estimates came back at, you know, twice what was, what they had estimated they would be, you know, instead of 150 or 60 million, closer to 300 million. You know, was hoping that there would be, that the TPO would be able to take up an item, you know, interim during the year to add, you know, to add the funds during the year into that 5th year. I don't think, you know, based on some recent discussions, I don't know that that's going to be able to happen, but, you know, there has been some commitment, and Robert, I don't know if this was, you know, if this was mentioned to you, but there's been some commitment that, you know, at least ensuring that the construction funds get dropped into this coming year. And, you know, the property insurance stuff is a mess, and, you know, the state, I mean, this, you know, the state is going to have to step in, but part of the problem is, you know, even the state subsidized insurance is, you know, is struggling. The rates there, if you're getting pushed into the citizens pool, you know, I'm familiar with some commercial businesses that have been pushed, been dropped, and been pushed to citizens, and because of the rates that are coming back from citizens, they're just going self-insured, and it's not by intent. I mean, that's, you know, that's certainly anyone's prerogative, but it's an unfortunate situation when we have constituents and constituent businesses that are self-insuring because they realistically can't afford to they can't afford to have insurance. That's not how Citizens was modeled 20 years ago when it was stood up. Or 25 years ago, you know, give or take, at least 20. That's not how it was modeled at that time, and but that's how it's become. I don't know what they're going to be able to do. It would seem unlikely that, you know, Robert, I know that you mentioned the governor's talked about bringing insurers into the state. We'll see.
Well, I mean,
I don't know that there's any reason to be especially optimistic about that aspect of it. I think that taking it up as a big legislative ask from us, I don't know exactly, you know, what appears to be most likely a solution is some altering of the citizens' structure. Mm-hmm. And if it's an additional subsidy there from the legislature to subsidize, or there's already a system in place, you know, with basically taxpayer-funded insurer of last resort. Right. It would seem like you would try to expand that model into a way that works now. You know, maybe it worked at one time.
And perhaps I'm stepping over. I appreciate your thoughts on that, Stephen. And perhaps I'm stepping over by saying it, but it just, to me, perhaps the solution would be if you're going to make a fortune with Flo and Jamie and the commercials and the Lizard selling auto insurance, and you make a fortune in the state of Florida, they make a fortune, then you ought to be, and I think the state legislature might have a part in this, you should compel them, then you have to sell property insurance as well. You have to, I mean, you can't just come in and eat dessert and knock the broccoli off the plate because you might take a loss. And I think the way you do it, you look at what the ratio is of what they insure in other states, Idaho, Nebraska, places where they don't have, big hurricanes, and make them do the same thing here. That would be legislation that's profound and impactful because they'd have to make a decision. I mean, letting them just come in and say, well, we're not going to write this, but we're going to write this because it makes money. And people would say, well, that's not the free market. Free market, they should be able to do what they want. Well, we don't have a free market. It's highly subsidized. It's highly manipulated by the government. And if you're serious about lowering the rates, that's how you do it. You make them stay. Otherwise, you don't get to.
Maybe we get our FP&L friends in the back to expand the public service.
They don't want to talk about it.
If they expand the Public Service Commission and we get property insurance companies under a Public Service Commission,
Hey,
Rick and David might be very
says
supportive of that.
Anyway,
They got a lot of lobbyists.
it's a can of worms, but I wanted to open it.
It's a real discussion because it's a real problem.
It's a big problem.
I don't necessarily write much of it, Robert. I don't know if you worked in this field or not, but I still am licensed to write property and casualty insurance in Florida and have been for 20 years. I just don't actively do it, but it is the market's changed tremendously, and it's not it's not what's intended by the altruistic, the notion of public service and risk management. It's not what was intended in that regard. And just to say that they offer it, I think what you're saying that makes a lot of sense. If they're going to write auto, you've got to write property. But if you're going to do that, I think you have to put an additional layer in there of the marketability and the pricing of the okay, you know what, Commissioner, we're offering property to every single homeowner, and it's X numbers of tens of thousands of dollars per year. Yeah. So they're offering it, but they're not trying to be competitive. So it's hard to believe at some point in time, and I don't know that our board has the political capital to move the needle, but when you think about boards throughout the state and the population of the state of Florida, it's hard to imagine in 5 years that there's not some degree of regulation on rates related to property insurance in the state of Florida. I don't exactly know how we get there or when we get there, but it's hard to imagine that doesn't end up happening at some point in time.
And just one more thing I'd like to say on that since we're talking. And I think there's a way to do that when you're talking about, you talk about the risk zones, A, B, C, D, and obviously if you live on the coast, you're going to pay more. But if you live in Beulah, why are your rates doubling? I mean, it's not like there's tornadoes going through Beulah, right? One claim in 20 years, and my insurance, it was $1,400. Now it's over $5,000. And look, I can afford it, but there are a lot of people in my district that can't. And we see a lot of hey, we passed tort reform. Right. Guess what? That ain't doing anything. We got to make the insurance companies. You don't get to leave. You don't get to not write property if you're going to make a fortune selling an automobile. And, I'm going to say that to the delegation. I'm going to go to the meeting and tell them that.
They banked property insurance for almost 20 years. I mean, from 2005 to not 20 years, maybe 13 years until Michael in Panama City, there were not a tremendous amount of losses in the entire state of Florida. There should have been just billions and millions of dollars banked at that time. But, we live north of 10 Mile Road, so thereby, 10 miles from the water, give or take. And, the first number that came back was almost a doubling. And then you go out and, okay, well, we got to shop it around, and you go get a 4-point inspection again, even they had one a few years ago. You go get into one of those, and you still end up with a 30% increase or something. I mean, it's more than a doubling over 5 years. And that's the point. And that's where people are getting to. And, it doesn't matter when we don't have a storm, the self-insurance, the self-insured nature of what some people are being driven to. But if you have this dynamic over, say, a 5 or 6 year period where people are just saying, look, I'm having to choose between this bill or paying property insurance, and we're not required to have it because we don't have a mortgage. Well, you have these drop off, these drop. So now you have this growing number of people in our population that have no property insurance, and then we have a legitimate storm come through.
The taxpayers are still going to pick it up. FEMA's going to pick it up.
well, FEMA will pick up a
Portion,
32.5 per house of it. I mean, but it's a real thing that will rear its head at some point in time in the future if something doesn't get redirected.
And just a very small number of folks can actually be self-insured. I mean, most folks have mortgages on their property, so they don't even have that option. They're at the mercy of the insurance companies. That's why I think there needs to be more of a heavy, look, I'm a free market guy, but we don't really have a free market, and everyone in the room knows that.
And those
So-
fourth place numbers, I mean, the fourth place numbers are
They're crazy.
even worse than they're worse than the worst estimate that you could get when they get fourth place.
And there's a lot of people in our districts right now that are having forced place insurance or being dropped, period. So I appreciate the discussion. Thank you.
No, and no, Jeff, you make some valid points, and, you know, when you look at the direct effect to taxpayers, it affects us of our local avalons, because every CRA meeting, we're approving roofs after roofs after roofs for people who own their homes, but the storm hit and they can't fix their roof, and so we're having to figure out at the local how to do that. I mean, so it does directly affect local taxpayers and our dollars. And then, you know, another thing, Jeff, with the particularly people in my district that have legacy homes, generational homes that were left down without mortgage, when we see the appreciation of property values, the increased insurance, people are being displaced and are becoming homeless just because of that. So, I mean, it's a real direct correlation. I mean, you know, I don't have the solution, but I certainly, you know, the issue is very deep, and so I support you in going there. You know, and, you know, Jeff, then you have the further discussion. I mean, you know, with insurance rates in Florida, I mean, we have some of our friends who decide to build on barrier islands, and those of us that live on the inland, we pay these high rates because some people decide to live on a barrier island. And they still go to Sunday school and live on a barrier island. I never get that. But at the end of the day, it still directly affects citizens, you know, because they're going to look at it globally for the whole state of Florida. They're not just going to look in the urban core. They're going to look at the whole state. So I think, you know, if you can come up with that solution, Jeff, you'd be a genius. But whatever you
I don't think the legislature will like it, but
Right.
I'll still say it.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, I mean, the thing is, though, is that it's not just Florida. You know, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, I believe there were 20 incidents throughout the country that had over 1 billion in losses, you know, and like 2 of those were in Florida. You know, I mean, when we were doing some specialty placement for the city, you know, the city's rates were dependent on how bad the wildfires were out west that year before. You know, I mean, it's so, you know, you can't tell me that the Maui fires don't impact our insurance. You know, again, it's a company that does global, some of these do global placement. And so, you know, our rates are impacted by what happens globally. So it's not just Florida. You know, I know that, you know, some of the things I've thought about are, you know, do we try to do a Gulf state, you know, wind pool or something like that? And I've talked to some people about it to see if it would even be, you know, if we could even pull it off to where at least you instead of only pulling Florida, you pull all 5 states or something like that. You know, I mean, you find some other states where you could maybe offset some of these losses or something like that. But again, then they would be helping pay for us. Or, you know, again, if a hurricane goes and sits over Houston for a couple of days and floods them all out because they've built on the floodplains, you know, we'd be help paying for that too. I mean, again, no different than, you know, FPL with a storm hitting South Florida, we help with the hurricane recovery but likewise up here, right? I mean, so it's, you know, because it was still Gulf Power when Sally came through, technically, and so the Gulf Power area was the one that was left holding that bag for all those damages there, and just again, now that we're all one, anything that happens in South Florida, wherever they have a presence, will help offset the cost of that damage to the company. So, you know, I mean, the other thing is that the price to rebuild is getting higher. I mean, it's, you know, the value of the homes you know, if you built your home for $200,000 20 years ago, you can't build the same, and that same build might be $400,000. So to be shocked that your insurance rates are reflecting a doubling, you know, the price of everything has gone up as well. So, but no, I mean, there definitely needs to be some help and some reform and some change, but I think you also have to look at the realistic part of it as well. But, you know, as far as, you know, requiring someone who does auto policy, I mean, yeah, they could probably do something like that. yeah, so.
While we're talking about legislative priorities, two things from the past, and I don't know if we've made any headway on them, but in our jails, if we have prisoners in our jails, we can't seek the reimbursements. Have we made headway on that?
So, well, we're working on that on the federal level. I know that I met with Senator Rubio when I was in DC earlier this year, talking about that. That is one of one of the things that the federal committee is looking at. And Chief, did we ever? I talked to you about that the other day. What? It hasn't moved. Okay. So we thought there was some legislation up federal that was going to help with that, but it's still something we're pushing. It's a FAC initiative, so we're working on it from that way.
And then the final thing is the Live Local Act. I was at a NIOP event recently. We talked about it. It's a disaster. I mean, I'm just going to say it. It was well-intentioned. It's a disaster. What's FAC's position on that? Are they going to go and request a fix? Because if you're a local control guy, which I am, they've stepped all over our control. They've preempted our ability to do any zoning, even in commercial areas. They can dump apartments in areas, and we can't do anything about it. I think that needs to be a legislative priority. They've got to fix that and reinstill some local controls.
There's talk about, I don't know, I haven't heard what the fix would be or how far it'd go, but I believe that they are starting to realize some of the pitfalls of the act.
It was a disaster.
And so I'll ask and find out what it looks like. What it looks like it'll happen, but it does seem like something like that will be moving forward this session. Thanks.
Thanks for staying there, Jeff. I wish you would come to our AHAC meetings and explain to them that it's a disaster. Yeah. Claire, make sure you get him there because, yeah, I agree with you, Jeff, but, yeah. County Attorney?
There's just one item on the report tonight. The recommendation from me is a yes on Part A and a no on Part B, but if you have any questions, I can try to answer.
No, we stand adjourned.